And Jay, that moves us on to our final game. The Chicago Bears going up against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 3.5-point favorites on the road here. Vegas clearly still loving the Rams. Jay, will the Rams look to spread the ball around early after a really slow start in their passing game last week with Davante Adams not really taking off in the passing game? They haven't had much semblance of a run game, and they're going to look to spread it against the Chicago Bears defense.
I think their best chance of winning is trying to get a running game going. I think that would be their best chance of winning. I think Matthew Stafford's a guy that's always just going to look for the open receiver. Like, you know what I mean? Some quarterbacks are like, I got to get it to JJ McCarthy, or I got to get it to Justin Jefferson, or I got to get it to Chase, or I got to get it to whoever. I don't think that's Matt Stafford, and I think he's an elder statesman, and I think nobody's going to get on him for that. I don't think you have selfish receivers there. So I think he's the type of guy who's just going to move the ball around. I think the real key for them is they have to, even if they don't pick up a lot of yards, like you have to keep running the ball against this Bears defense. You can't just get into passing. This is a team that thrives on turnovers. Like, so you have to make sure that you protect the ball. You have the run. You don't want to give extra possessions to Caleb Williams and let him get hot as the game goes. So I think the most important part of this setup for the Rams is to run the ball. Plus, if you can run the ball and eat some clock, you can keep your terrible defense off the field.
Yeah, and I think with the Bears as well, as you rightly say, they live off turnovers. And Matthew Stafford does have a tendency every now and again to try and fit a ball into where he shouldn't be trying to fit a ball into. You know, he does throw some turnovers. He threw he threw an interception last week in the wildcard round against the Panthers as well. And you can't give the Bears those turnovers because that's all their defense is really looking for. Their defense isn't massively great at actually stopping people from scoring. The way it stops you is by getting the ball off you. That's the way. That's the only way that they can actually stop people. The Chicago Bears. So I agree. I think you've got to get the run game going, but I think they might look to get the run game going by having that short passing game early, taking guys out the box, and then allowing that run game from that point. That's what I think they might look to do.
The Bears have caused more fumbles off screens than any other team.
That is a great stat. That's a good one. I'm not sure whether
they come in punching the ball.
Screen, yeah.
They hit that screen, the guy turns and takes 2 steps, and then bam, the ball's flying, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another thing about missed tackles as well that I've been watching, like more stuff on missed tackles. It's like, yeah, okay, we miss a couple of tackles, but if we get one turnover from coming in and punching the ball, and that's why the tackle isn't as good because the technique is to go high and punch the ball. So the tackle technique isn't low. So when you look at defensive guys, they're saying like, yeah, if we get that one turnover, then that makes up for 2 missed tackles or whatever. And it's an interesting theory. I don't know whether I necessarily agree, but if that's your defensive thing that you want to go do is to go in and get those turnovers, that's what the Bears are looking for. So I think that's not a terrible thing to do as well. Jay, will the Bears be ready from the first snap after their first experience of playoff football? You know, it was Ben Johnson's first experience of playoff football as a head coach. It was Caleb Williams' first experience of playoff football last week as well. Colston Loveland, Roma Dunze, Carmen Ungai. It was their first experiences of playoff football as for a lot of the organization for quite some time. Do you think they'll be ready after the high of last week?
I do, and the reason I do is because even though they went on that winning streak, it felt like they were a team who were playing like they had their back up against the wall all season, right? Like it felt like they were the underdog in every game and still figured out how to win. I think they're a gritty team. I actually really like the way they're built, sadly, because they're in my division. I hate that they're in my division. And I also think Ben Johnson's a guy who doesn't like when it comes to the game, doesn't let his emotions get him until after the game is over for the most part. I think he made some dumb decisions, but I think he already had those decisions made before the game that he was going to be that aggressive. And I think he, like you said, he had a conversation with himself. So I don't think we'll see that happen again. I think he's a guy that's going to learn from it. And I think this team is really playing together as a team. And when you're really there for your teammates and you want to win for them, I think you have this extra motivation to not let them down.
Yeah, and Jay, I also think that they were able to kind of scheme really well against this Rams defense. I think this Rams defense is actually a solid defense, but it's in a really bad slump here. And I think with the DBs and the way that they match up with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Colson Loveland, I think there's going to be a lot for Caleb. I think there's going to be a lot for Caleb Williams over the middle here, which is the place where he's the most accurate. Weirdly, it's the place where he's the most accurate after he rolls out the pocket. He's then really accurate over the middle rather than outside the numbers, which is really weird. But, you know, he can make those throws over the middle. And if he can do that consistently, if he can just put it on guys and get that completion percentage up, then I think that will be huge for them. And I think the Rams live off creating negative plays through Poona Ford, Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk. Caleb Williams doesn't actually give you negative plays in terms of sacks.
Also, I want to bring this up because I feel like I'm talking you out of something here, but because I think I know where you're going to go. But 14 degrees at kickoff, which is negative 10 Celsius, with whipping winds through Soldier Field. LA's got to come and play in this cold. Ben Johnson's been making them practice in this cold for a month now. I don't know if you think that matters. I think it matters. I walked outside. It was 16 degrees today to go to work, and I was like, fuck this, and why do I live somewhere where my face hurts?
It's the same for me as well. Like walking to go teach today, it was like minus 10 outside. I was like, this is horrific. This is very cold and it's very, very gray. But that whipping wind and stuff like that. Now the Rams having to come and play outside in that, fine. Puka Nacua is hard as fucking nails, so I don't think it'll affect him. Devontae Adams played in Green Bay for most of his career. Matthew Stafford has one of the strongest arms in the NFL and is an ex-Detroit Lion. I know the Detroit Lions play inside, so he didn't actually play much football outside, but, you know, like the arm strength is what's tested in those weathers. But Jay, I think that weather and the reason why Soldier Field has been a fortress for the Chicago Bears is a lot about the weather and a lot about it being in the Windy City. We saw it affecting Brandon McManus's kicking. You know, Carlos Santos missed one kick, but put the rest of them down the middle, considering the wind and all of that kind of stuff as well. So, Jay, this might surprise you. I've been picking the Chicago Bears all year whenever they're an underdog. They're an underdog in this one by 3.5 points. So give me the Chicago Bears in this one at home. I'm taking the Chicago Bears, and I think they'll win. I actually do think they win this game as well.